I spent more than $2 million on Meta ads for my coaching business in 2025. And in this video, I'm going to share 11 vital lessons to share with you if you are a health professional or coach trying to acquire coaching clients into your business. So stick with me for a few minutes because everything else you've seen online, especially on YouTube, is all about products and e-commerce. And if you're taking their advice to grow your Meta ads and performance on Meta ads, you're going to lose a lot of money. My name is Yuri Alkin. I'm the CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. We help health experts build scalable practices, both in person and online. And we've been doing this now for 20 years. I built and sold my first multiple seven-figure online health business 8 years ago. And over the past 8 years with Healthpreneur, we've been helping thousands of practitioners and coaches grow their businesses. A large part of what we do is help our clients build predictable systems that bring leads in daily, clients in weekly, and allow them to scale their delivery without one-on-one. So a large part of our coaching with clients, especially those that are a little bit further along, is helping them understand how to use paid traffic, because you can certainly post content all day long and that has its place, but it takes forever to get where you want to go. My first business, which I started back in 2005, was largely built on content. It took 7 years to make my first $1 million. When I started Healthpreneur in 2017, it took me 7 weeks to make my first $1 million with some of the principles I'm sharing with you here by using advertising to acquire clients at a profit. Now, things have changed over the years. A number of years ago, we had iOS 14.5, and that really just severed the signal back to Meta, so conversions weren't being counted properly from different devices. Then you had Andromeda, which is kind of like the big, conversation nowadays. What a lot of people don't even realize is that Andromeda is like one of the many updates within how Meta is moving forward with AI and its algorithms. So it's got, there's Lattice and there's different things in there. I'm not going to get into the technicalities of it. But just understand that Andromeda is not a new thing. Andromeda rolled out in November, December of 2024. And so if we've seen a lot of ad accounts, people coming in to work with us that haven't really performed well. And when we start working with them, on average over the past, over 2025, our average client results, average 342% return on ad spend. What that means, our clients, thousands of them, spend $1 and make $3.42 on average with our process when it comes to running Meta ads. So I'm going to share a couple really big lessons that I've learned, obviously in my own account, but also with our clients. And just to remind you, again, this video is for you if you're running a coaching business. If you're selling little widgets and trying to this is not for you. There's other videos that talk about e-commerce. But if you want what's working now with coaching businesses on Meta advertising specifically, I think this will really, really make a lot of sense for you. So number one thing to remember, and I've been preaching this since 2014, ever since I started talking about Meta ads or Facebook ads back in the day, is messaging is everything, okay? You have to understand this. When iOS 14.5 came out, a lot of people freaked out because they were basically not able to get the conversion signals back to Meta. And also at the same time, Facebook Meta was starting to remove a lot of very specific interest. So back in the day with my other health business, I could target Dr. Oz, I could target Oprah Winfrey, I could target Tony Robbins, I could target very specific experts and demographics. That's gone, okay? So over the past couple of years, as this has happened, novice ad buyers have freaked out. They're like, I can't find my people on Facebook. And I'm like, really? There's 3 billion users on Meta and Instagram. So I'm going to use Meta just interchangeably. Instagram and Facebook are under the Meta umbrella. If you think that your people are not on Meta, you're absolutely living in an alternative universe. Just because you can't find your people on Meta, it doesn't mean they're not there. It simply means you don't know how to find them. And that is a reflection of messaging. Your messaging, especially 2026, especially with the Andromeda updates, works like this, okay? So let's say that you start off with a starting daily budget of, I'll just keep it very simple, $100, okay? So $100 a day. Please understand, just to preface this, when you spend $100 a day, Facebook is going to show your ads to that many people. I'm just using that arbitrarily. When you spend $1,000 a day, it'll show it to more people, okay? So please understand that this is simply an arbitrage. It's a barter. hey, Facebook, here's the 1,000. And they're like, cool, we'll show it to more people. If you give them 50, they show it to fewer people. So please understand that the more money you spend, the more people see your stuff. However, before you even play that game, you want to make sure that your ads actually perform. And so how we do that without blowing our budgets, and again, on average in 2025, we were spending about $6,500 per day. And I'll talk about some of the bottlenecks that we ran into there. So stick with me. But your messaging, so let's say that this is like angle one. Okay, so I'll just use some examples from health. I'll just use the example of migraines. Okay, so we have a lot of clients, not a lot, but enough clients who work in the migraine space. They do very, very well. There's 33 million Americans who suffer with migraines. It's a huge market. So let's say that this is 33 million migraine sufferers. And I'll just say Canada, US. It doesn't mean that your ad is going to be shown to all of them because you can't target migraine sufferers. Like you're going to go general and broad. What I mean by that is you identify, let's say 30 to 60 years old, and we're going to say Canada, USA, and that's it. Female, male, that's it. This is known as broad targeting. Broad targeting is ideally what Meta wants in today's day and age. And the only exception to that is if you're like in our business where we specifically are working with health professionals. So we can go not only with broad, but we can also set up a different audience, which is going to be job titles like chiropractor, chiropractic physician, naturopathic doctor, medical doctor, stuff like that. So we have different ad sets for that. And what's interesting is the results are quite similar. So it doesn't you don't need to go down the rabbit hole of worrying about interest and job titles and stuff like that, just in case you're wondering. So let's come back to this. So we're going broad. 33 million people is in your target, right? Your total addressable market of migraine sufferers. And angle number one talks about migraines. So let's say that the angle on this is something on, when I say the angle, I mean what is the messaging of this ad, whether it's a video ad or the caption, it doesn't matter. The general message, if it's angled around something like, are migraines keeping you bedridden and you can't show up at work? Okay, so let's say that that's an example. That would be one angle. Now, that angle is not going to appeal to all 33 million people who suffer with migraines. However, it will be shown to people that Meta knows has migraines. How do they know? Because Meta has more data points on all of us than we care to think about. I'm talking millions of data points. Please understand that when you go to Google and you type something in, Meta knows what you just searched. Have you ever had that phenomenon where you're talking about something and all of a sudden your phone starts showing you ads relative to that thing? Like you're talking about a new vacuum cleaner and all of a sudden you start seeing Dyson ads? Yeah, they're listening, they're watching. And to be honest, as an advertiser, I love it. Because I'm like, yeah, take my privacy. I don't give a shit. We don't have privacy anyways. Who cares? Get on with it, right? What that means is that when your people are typing in how to resolve migraines, migraine solutions, best product for migraines, they have all that data. And so because your messaging is calling out migraine sufferers, it will be shown to a percentage of those people, but also based on where they are in their journey. So when I talk about messaging as being your targeting, messaging is very important because it's going to pull in a specific segment of that audience. But one ad, one angle is not going to do the trick. You have to have multiple different angles. So you're going to have angle 2, angle 3, and that might be stuff like Advil's not working for your migraines, try this instead, right? So there's all sorts of different angles. The more angles, the more different messages you put into the marketplace with your Meta advertising, the more Meta has to use to find its people. That's if you think about content, it's the same idea. You're not going to build a huge following on Instagram with one post. You're going to have hundreds or thousands of posts that attend to different pillars or different content themes, different angles, and are all under the umbrella of who you help. It's very similar with Meta advertising. So the first thing to understand is that messaging has always been the most important thing. Even when targeting in specific interest audiences were still available, it's always been about the messaging. Now it's the only way you can target, because if you don't call out your target audience and speak specifically to them, your ads will not work in 2026 and beyond. Okay, the second big lesson is, I've noticed this probably this year more than previous, is the signal between your ads, your conversion events, and Meta are probably more important than ever before. So let me break this down. So you have an ad, and that ad goes to an opt-in page. Okay. On that opt-in page, they're going to leave a name, an email, maybe a phone number, and they're going to go, in our case, to a webinar, right? Webinar, VSL, whatever you want to call it. From the webinar, people are going to book a call if they're the right fit. Now, what's going to happen is on the back end of that, we'll call this the call booked thanks page. Okay. So on this page, this signifies a call has been booked. This signifies a lead. So I'll just put in lead, call booked. Now, what is very important nowadays more than before, let's just keep it simple and let's just look at optimizing for leads. If you are not getting enough lead volume, then what's going to happen is this feedback to Meta, there's not enough feedback. Let me just put it that way. So if you're not getting enough leads, or your Pixel and CAPI, which is Conversion API, are not set up properly in the ads manager or the business manager, you're going to struggle big time with quality of people coming through. And you can set this up inside your events manager, go to data sets, and just make sure for whatever the event is, whether it's subscribe or lead, whatever you're optimizing for, that you have at least an 8.5 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10 match quality on that specific event. Because if it's lower than that, then what's happening is Meta is telling you, they'll give you specific instructions. They'll say like, hey, listen, we're missing this parameter, or we're missing this, and therefore your score is lower. And what it's telling you is it's saying, we cannot find your people, your objective of leads or calls booked, because we don't have specific or close enough to 100% data to match for more of those people. Okay. So that's super, super important. And this will lead me to my third point, which is a big realization that I started to look. So we had issues with this technically this year. I'm not going to get into specifics. We had 2 specific moments in the year where the signal was completely severed between our conversion events and our ad accounts. And what ended up happening is, as we started to try to season back enough volume to get conversions again back into Meta, is I noticed that we were launching ads, and we launch ads typically with the objective of calls booked. We spend a lot of money for a conversion, right? We're not talking about like $5 leads. Like I don't need to get into the specifics of our numbers, but they're expensive, right? Relative to maybe some other businesses. So for us, we want the best quality people that we can find. We don't necessarily optimize for leads, because we've noticed that when we do so, there's a very big difference. Like as an example, when we optimize for leads, we will typically get a 3 to 5% lead to call booked percentage. That means if 100 people opt in as leads as the objective. So this is the objective. 3 to 5 of those people book a call. When we optimize for calls booked, so here, deeper in the funnel, we're getting a 15 to 20% lead to call booked ratio. So this third point that I want to share with you is you get exactly what you ask for. Like Meta is actually like the universe. Like it's a mirror of what you're asking for. And so if you're looking for calls, if the objective in the ad account is calls, Meta will find people on the platform who are more likely to book calls. But here's the problem, and we'll talk about this a little bit further down, is you have to recognize the cash flow constraints of your business. Because if you're going to pay 5 to 10 times as much for a call as you will for a lead, now your daily budget has to be a lot higher. So for us, if we're paying hundreds or maybe even $1,000 a call, which is a lot, we don't have daily budgets of $50. That's why for us, we're spending $6,000 to $13,000 a day to get enough volume into our accounts. So I hope this is making sense. So anyways, the third thing that I'm sharing with you here is that what you ask for, you get more of. But you also have to remember that you get exactly what you pay for in life. So you will get more leads if you build your campaigns around the objective of leads. And you will not pay as much in terms of your daily budget, etc., which is fine. If you want better quality people, then you'll probably want to optimize around calls booked. You will pay more for those conversions. You will pay more for the calls. You will pay more for earlier stage conversions, usually. If you are setting this up for calls booked and your average lead costs $3 in a lead conversion campaign, if all of a sudden you try a campaign where the objective is calls booked, You might pay $5 or $6 for a lead, but way more of them book a call. So ultimately your total cost to acquire a potential client goes down dramatically, right? So, but you have to understand what makes sense for your business and what doesn't. So I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm just sharing what we have done and the pros and cons of that. So fourth thing I'll share with you, and this comes back to the signal issue, is when we ran into this issue with the signal being severed, Meta was not getting enough signal to say like, well, who are the leads? Who are the calls? We just have to go find people. And I noticed something really interesting happen in our account. So normally our opt-in page is about 30% opt-in, which is actually pretty solid for cold traffic. So 100 people land on the page, 30% of them, so 30 of them put their name and email in to go to the next step. But we had a few campaigns as we were starting to like reinvigorate things to get the signal back, where it was sending hundreds of clicks, hundreds of landing page views, and like 1% to 2% conversion opt-in rate. And I'm like, this does not make sense to me. I couldn't understand why. And I started looking at the CPMs. So CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. So I started looking at, I'm trying to figure out, okay, why, if I know historically this opt-in page typically is about 30%, how on earth? And I was running some of our best ads at this time as well, just kind of like re-uploading them, getting them back into the mix. I'm like, there's no way it can go from 30% to 2% opt-in rate. This doesn't even make sense to me. It's sending hundreds of clicks and no one's converting. And then I looked at the CPM and I noticed their CPMs were super, super low. I'm talking like in our neighborhood, like $4 CPMs, which is outrageous because we're used to seeing CPMs in the neighborhood of $80 to $120, which also is ridiculously high. But for some reason, Meta couldn't find our ideal people. So it dropped the quality. This is the key. It dropped the quality to find something. And so therefore it was sending all sorts of traffic to our page and nothing was happening. And it was just like, dude, I'm not getting enough signal from you. So therefore we have to drop the CPMs, show this to whoever else we can. And hopefully some of those people will come in, we get more of the signal back in, and we can kind of like kick things up again. So if you see your ads with a very, very low CPM, that is an indication that Meta is sending you a bunch of junk traffic, not because it wants to, but because it has no other choice. It's not getting enough feedback from your conversion signals to actually give you more of what you're asking for. Now, again, I don't know if this is happening in your account. I'm just sharing. This is an observation that I made that I noticed this year more than ever before. And again, you just have to look at your average ads, right? Like the ones that have been running the longest. What are you paying from a CPM perspective, cost per 1,000 impressions? And if that's the average, cool. If you notice an ad that is generating very, very, very low CPMs, you may just want to look at the quality of the people coming in from that ad. Just an observation, just something to know. But also, very importantly, if you see that, make sure you go to the data sets inside the events manager to make sure that for your conversion events, whether it's lead or calls booked, that you're getting an 8.5 out of 10 match quality. Otherwise, Meta's going to just throw junk at you. Okay, fifth important lesson, and this is really important for, I don't know what stage of business you're at, but I speak with a lot of people who say stupid things like, oh yeah, Meta ads didn't work for me. I'm like, okay, well, does that mean Meta ads don't work ever? Like, no, they just didn't work for you. And there are many reasons for this. However, most ad problems are not within the platform. Most ad problems, in my experience, are shitty offers with very vague, unclear, ambiguous messaging, period. So if I go to someone's landing page and I have no idea what the hell they do, right away I know why their ads are not working. Because if I don't know what the hell you're doing, how on earth there are thousands of other people that are coming from Meta? Cold traffic's supposed to understand what you're doing. So your offer and your messaging obviously go hand in hand. There's many offers in a funnel where you have the offer from the ad to click on the link. Like, why should I click on this link? What am I getting out of this? Right? So there needs to be a promise at every stage of your funnel. So when someone watches or sees your ad, there needs to be a very compelling promise or reason why they're going to click. That's an offer, number one. Number two offer is on the landing page. So let me break this down for you. You have your ad, you have your landing page, opt-in page, whatever. Okay. So this is offer number one is why should I click the link? offer number 2 is right here on the landing page. Okay, cool. So now that I'm on this page, why should I give you my name and email address? What am I getting out of this? Now, offer 1 and 2 are very synonymous. They're very close, which means that the landing page should ideally be congruent with the ad message / copy. If it's not, then you'll have lower opt-in rates considering, assuming the traffic quality is about the same in terms of its, your average ads. So that's the second offer is, okay, why should I opt in? Like, what is the selfish benefit I get out of this? Let's look at step 3. So in our case, it's a webinar or a VSL. And there's a third offer here, which is to book a call. Now, if you're running a paid consult like many of our clients do, that paid consult is going to be for some money. And there needs to be a very good reason why someone's going to give you a certain number of dollars to get on a call with you. So that's another offer. Then you have the actual call. And on that call, you're making an offer to join your higher ticket coaching offer, your program, your service. So you have 4 offers going through this whole funnel, which is essentially getting people to kind of they're like breadcrumbs. Why should I keep paying attention? Why should I take the next step with you? And each of these offers have to be dialed in. Because if you just have a good landing page, right, and people are opting in, but no one's booking a call from your webinar, then okay, cool. Could it be the offer in the webinar? Sure. But it could also be the ad copy itself in that offer. If there's a major mismatch, if it's very clickbaity and Trojan horse, and all of a sudden they get in and it's not congruent. We had a client a long time ago, and I remember she was talking about how she was getting calls booked for $11. And I'm like, oh my God, that's incredible. She was getting 200 calls booked in a week. And then I looked at her webinar and she was like, this is what she said. This is not a sales pitch. I have nothing to sell you. This is a free call where I'm going to get to know about your situation. And she had people left, right, and center booking calls with her, but no one was buying because her offer was so compelling without any reality check that a lot of people were booking calls. But when it came to offer number 4, the actual, here's my coaching program to solve this problem, no one purchased. Because it wasn't that offer number 4, the coaching program was bad. It should the wrong people booking a call in the first place, because offer number 3, which was the offer of the call itself, was just so grandiose and not based in reality that she just got a bunch of tire kickers and it wasted her time. So you always have to think about this balance of flow and friction. So when I'm starting out with any of our clients, I'm always thinking about how do we optimize for flow before friction, right? You want as much in and out as possible. But as you start to get data from your ads and you start having calls with prospects and you start enrolling people and you start noticing I'm wasting time with people who are 90 years old and have no money and they live in a wheelchair, then you start adding a little bit more friction into the process, right? So we'll call this V1 and this is V2. You're doing this for a little bit more, a little bit longer time frame. Now we have flow coming in, but a little bit less coming out. So now we have more friction in terms of application questions or a paid consult, or you're telling people in your webinar, hey, don't even book a call if you have no disposable income. This is a 4 or 5-figure investment. And if you're not the type of person who is not willing to invest in your health and you're happy to deal with this issue for the rest of your life, unfortunately, this is not for you. I would love to help everyone, but I can't. I have a business to run and I can only spend my time with those who are in a position, who are able and willing to invest in their health. If that's you, go ahead and book a call. If not, I hope you've gotten some great value from this. I wish you all the best. You can start putting stuff like that into your webinar, into your marketing, so you don't waste time with people who are going to waste yours. So please understand that if you're getting a lot of the wrong people on a call with you, there is nothing wrong with meta ads. There is everything wrong with your messaging and your offer. I promise you this. Every problem you're experiencing in your business, and take this, I'm not trying to make you feel bad about this. This is just reality. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror, because every single problem you are facing in your business is on you. It's not meta. There's no algorithm out to get you. Your messaging sucks. No one wants your offer, or you're not clear, you're not being firm with people, and you're just letting all sorts of shit come onto your calendar. If you don't want that, put an end to it. I'll give you another example. So we were running a test a couple days ago. We were getting a ton of calls booked. And I started to notice an interesting pattern with the applications and the show up rates on these calls. And I was like, oh, we have a bunch of floozies again. Ha ha ha. So we had tested initially for lots of flow. So we reduced the amount of time it took on the webinar page for someone to like actually apply. And we gave them control over the play bar. So that's removing all friction, right? Like you could book a call right away. You could scroll through the presentation. And then I was like, cool. So now we have a baseline of what we can expect based on our ad spend, based on the ads, and based on this flow versus friction setup. And then I said, you know what? It's time to add a bit of friction. We're not going to deal with these tire kickers any longer. So I removed the play bar. So now it's like you're forced to watch a whopping 14 and a half minutes, at least in this particular case. But in the past, I've had webinars that are 90 minutes and have done amazingly well. The more people watch, the more they will spend with you. I can promise you this. You're not going to get everyone all the way to the end. That's not the point. The point is the right people make it to where they need to be so they can then book a call. So we removed the play bar. We delayed the call to action to a specific point of the video. And what happened? Call volume went down. Call quality went up. Okay? So these are the things you have to be aware of. And again, this is why clients come to us, because they don't know this stuff and they don't know how to make sense of these numbers and these different scenarios. As you can tell, I like live and breathe this. Our whole team does. We eat this stuff for breakfast and we make these decisions and help our clients do the same by using what we call critical numbers. It's a very simple dashboard that all of our clients have, and they're not making decisions based on feelings. Your feelings don't matter. The market doesn't give a shit how you feel. The numbers will tell you what's working and what isn't. And that's how we make decisions and help our clients do as well. So just coming back to this fifth point is that most ad problems are not the actual ad campaign setup, if you will. It's, again, a messaging issue or an offer issue inside the funnel a lot of times. Okay, number 6, this is really simple. I'm going to just, put it out there. There's a lot of great stuff on YouTube, and you have to be very discerning with what you listen to and watch. From what I've seen, I would say 99% of the videos around meta advertising on YouTube is for e-commerce businesses. And it's very important that you are aware of why this is dangerous for you. E-commerce has very different metrics and different strategy than lead gen or high ticket sales in terms of coaching. If you're spending $1,000 to acquire one client into a $5,000 or $6,000 coaching program, and an e-commerce business is selling a cream for $40, the metrics are so far different that the strategies are very different as well. The types of creatives you use, the types of angles and campaign structures a lot of times are different with e-commerce businesses. So this is more of a word of warning than anything else, because especially with Andromeda, and honestly, YouTube is amazing, but it's also super frustrating because there's a lot of fear mongering on YouTube. And they do that because it's like the news, right? If it bleeds, it leads. Meta ads, like stop all of your ads. Meta's changed forever. Andromeda's killing your ads. Fuck it all. Okay? Like, my recommendation is to hide all of that stuff that doesn't make sense for your business. Don't recommend channel, don't recommend channel, don't recommend channel, and only pay attention, not necessarily to my stuff, but pay attention that is pertinent to your business and your business model. There is a world of a difference between e-com and high ticket coaching. I don't even work with media buyers who don't have experience in high ticket coaching. I don't care if you work for Revlon or any kind of e-commerce brand. There is a significantly different mindset post ad accounts, post campaign structure, understanding funnel dynamics that are very different than if you just send someone to a Shopify store. Okay, moving on. Number 7 is polarize to monetize. Our best ads, and I'll show you an example of them, our best ads are polarizing. Stop one-on-one, it's hurting your clients. Stop posting on social media, it's wasting your time. Those are the 2 most compelling angles for our audience. We get the most amount of heat in the comments on those ads. And where a lot of amateurs get hung up is they look at comments from people who are trolls, are never going to work with them in the first place, and they use that as their data and feedback, as opposed to looking at the metrics. So why does that even matter? Because you care about what other people think about you, but you got to stop. So when I say polarize to monetize, your best ads will be the ones that step on people's toes, not because they're trying to, but because they're sharing a point of view that you believe in, right? So we have a number of clients who work in fertility, and many of them are all about natural fertility. And so if they start an ad with something like IVF is the worst thing you could ever do to get pregnant, that's going to piss off a lot of people. But it's also going to appeal to a lot of others who've tried IVF, who spent $30,000 and had no success. They're like, you know what? Actually, that's me. Let me learn more about this. So your best ads will be when you speak your truth. Your best content in general will also be the same. So don't try to like tone down your message and play vanilla, like let me be liked by everyone. It's not going to work. Okay. Like your advertising needs to be very, very polarizing. You have to take a stance. Like you have to know what you stand for, what you stand against, and be very clear about, position in the marketplace. And you will see on the back end, your metrics will tell you the truth. If you get a lot of negative comments, just delete them. Delete the people and block them. Done. And move on. And look at the metrics on the back end. If they're booking calls and enrolling clients, who gives a shit what people say on the front end? They don't understand. Okay. Okay, so this is a big one. So this is a little bit more of an advanced conversation for some of you guys who are spending big money. So as ad spend increases, cash flow becomes increasingly important. And so this became the bottleneck for our business, right? So like, hey, Yuri, why don't you spend more than $2 million this year in ads? Well, okay, so in 2025, and I'll show you what happened here. So in 2024, we spent $2.3 million on ads, and that led to a front-end ROAS, and I'll explain that in a second, of 1.68. And then in 2025, we spent about 2.1 million, and our front-end ROAS was 0.98. Okay, so let me explain this. When I say front-end ROAS, that's kind of a term that we've invented within our business. It basically means cash collected. So when we are enrolling clients, I don't care about the contract value, right? So in our case, to work with us in our HBA program is about $30,000 for the year. I don't look at the full 30. I don't care about that. Unless someone pays us in full upfront and they save a bit more, that's fine. But what I'm looking at is how much is someone paying us on day one. That's front-end cash collected. That is the only thing I'm looking at to make decisions with our ad spend. So what does front-end look like? Well, it's everything that we collect on the first purchase within 30 days. So here, if we spend, let's say $100,000 in 1 month, that means we collect $168,000 in that month. And that means that we can easily pay off our credit card that had the ad spend on it, okay? If we spend $1 million, and I use a month because that's typically the turnaround time to pay off debt on credit cards, because that's what we use to run ads. If you don't have a business credit card, how are you supposed to run ads? So this becomes 1.68 million. And you can see this is a very big difference, right? This is a $68,000 profit. And this one is a $680,000 profit. So the percentage, the front-end ROAS is the same, 1.68, but the profit, the dollars in the bank are much, much different, right? $680,000, that's a bigger number than 68,000, right? Predicated on how much money you put into the system in the first place. So cool, right? Now, let's look at this scenario where you have $100,000 in spend and we're at a 0.98, which means that we made $98,000 on that spend. So therefore the profit is negative 2,000. So again, remember, this is only on front-end cash collected. I'm not looking at the full contract value. Whatever the person paid us on day one, whether it was one of the, like a pay in full or one of the payment plans, that's all we're looking at. Minus $2,000 over 30 days, no big deal, right? When you factor in all the other sources of revenue, monthly recurring revenue, stuff like that, no big deal. But let's say that now you spend $1 million and you're a little bit short, right? So in this case, 0.98. So now we've made $980,000. And so therefore the profit is negative 20,000. So again, at that level of spend, negative $20,000 is not that big of a deal. Because again, $20,000, that's pretty easy to make up the difference for. However, if your front-end ROAS like 0.5 and you're spending $1 million and you're $500,000 in the hole, that's a different scenario, right? And so I'm sharing this because when you spend more money, your cash collected, in this case, front-end ROAS, return on ad spend, is very, very important. No big deal if you're spending $1,000 a month. Who cares? You're minus $2. But if you spend $1 million and you're minus 200,000, where are you getting that money from, right? You have a briefcase of cash sitting around. So as you spend more and more money with advertising, you have to really look at the economics of your business. And this is something that we spend more time with our mastery clients talking about, because I had them actually do an exercise at my house in Mexico when they were with us in November. And it was something along the lines of this, which was something like money versus ad spend, like revenue collected versus ad spend. And basically it kind of looked like this. The more money you spend in ads, the more money you make, period. However, you have to be able to withstand the volatility that comes in that process. So you have to really understand the economics of your business. And this is where things like payment options become very, very important. So many, many years ago, we had a flat up pay us the same amount every month, whatever it was like, I don't even know what it's like, $1,500 a month at the time. And then we changed our pricing structure to demand more upfronts. Because number one, the more people put down upfronts, the more committed they are, the better results they get. That's actually something really interesting, but not surprising, that we have noticed. Our best clients pay in full. Our best clients put down more upfront. The pain in the asses, like payment issues and delinquencies, they put down the least or have to do some kind of like equal monthly payment stuff, okay? So if you think of your coaching offer and whatever the price is, so let's look at an example just to keep it simple. So let's say you price it at $10,000. Doesn't matter what the time is, 3 months, 4 months, I don't give a shit. Instead of saying, well, it's 4 times 2,500, right, which is 10,000, what you can do is you can say, okay, well, the first payment's $5K today. Then it's just 4 times $1,250. Okay. So this is an example of how you can restructure payment terms to be much more favorable for you collecting more cash up front. Because if you think about this, in the $2,500 a month scenario, it takes you 2 months to collect the cash that you could collect on day one with a $5,000 down option. So this is an example of how you can start to increase cash flow to re-inject into the business to cover your ad spend more effectively. Because if you don't have positive cash flow within 30 days, known as the buyback period, what is the cost to acquire a client? What is the value of that client or the money that's coming in the first 30 days? If you're not able to make that at least one, so you put $1 in, you make $1 out, it's going to be very hard to sustain your ad spend. And I find it so interesting, like so many of our clients, again, as I mentioned earlier, they have a 342% return on ad spend. And a lot of them are like, well, I want it to be higher. And I'm like, dude, just for context, my investment portfolio last year did 21%. 21%, which is like fucking home run winning for most investors. And it's like index funds. Okay, cool. 21% in this business, I'd go bankrupt. So when you've got a 342% ROAS, it means like you're printing money. And I had a client, she was like, can you have a look at my numbers? I don't think they're that great. And I'm looking at her numbers. Everything was green on her critical number sheet, which is always a good indicator. Her return on ad spend was 650%. I'm like, you're spending $1 and you're making $6.50 in return. Can I just give you my Amex and you can go crazy? Because that's the level you can get to with that. So cash flow becomes very, very important. Now, a couple things other than payment terms of cash flow. Show rates are very important. So here's a big one. So we look at a ratio, show rates and close rates. So we look at a ratio called booked to close. And this essentially incorporates both the show rate and the close rate into one. If you're north of 20%, you've hit the lottery. You're just, please go, just go. But what happens if your show rates go down, or what happens if your close rate sucks? And now this is like 10%, which basically means you book 10 calls to enroll one person. So let's say you spend, I don't know, $250 per call booked. That means over here, your CAC, cost to acquire clients, is 5 times 250, right? 20% is 1 out of 5. So you need 5 calls booked to enroll one client. So this is $1,250. But over here, it's 10 times 250, which means your cost to acquire a client is $2,500. So you've doubled your cost to acquire a client because your show rate and close rate have plummeted or were low to start with. Now, if you are if it requires you to spend more money to acquire a client and you're not collecting as much, you're going to run into problems. So if we look at $2,500 to acquire a client and you only collect $2,500 on day one, you're breaking even. Okay, no big deal. But if you paid only $1,250, you're already at a 2-to-1, even on equal payment options at $2,500. And if you went to $5,000 down payment today on a $1,250 enrollment, your return on ad spend on cash collected is like 3.5 to 1. You've won the lottery. And that's not considering MRR, contract value, the whole bit. I'm only talking about cash collected in the first 30 days on those initial purchases. I hope this is making sense. And I know this is a little bit more advanced, but if you're here, you're probably more advanced. So anyways, that's really important to consider. The more money you spend in ads, the more you have to take a lot of these levers, show rates, close rates, cash collected, very, very seriously. Otherwise, you will run into big problems with your business. Number 9. I don't think this is surprising. The people generally don't buy through ads directly as much as they used to. Again, for higher ticket coaching. Okay, I'm not talking about ecom. Like, here's a $40 cream, whatever. Here's what's happened in the coaching industry. It's obviously probably not surprising. 2017, 2018, 2019 was a joke. Like, it was ad, webinar, call, enroll, just nonstop, go, 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 go. COVID hit, everyone became a coach. Everyone was working from home. Easy in, easy out, right? Just like realtors, right? They're a dime a dozen. What's the difference? So what's happened in the coaching space in the past couple of years is there's a lot of bullshit out there. Everyone's seen everything, right? Your prospects have seen everything. You are probably here having had not the best experience with maybe another coaching program. Maybe you're like, how is this any different from everything else I've seen? Welcome to the world. This is what your prospects are thinking as well. There's a reason I have this YouTube channel, okay? So back in the day, it was a straight line. It was like ad to cash. Now, so this is like before COVID. Now, it's not like that at all. It's like ad, here's the cash, cool, but the client journey is like all over the place. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to go to Trustpilot, Google reviews. I'm going to search up Reddit, anything. I don't know. Personally, I don't fucking do any of that stuff because I'm like, if this makes sense, I will make it work because I'm a winner, period. But there's a lot of people out there who need more reassurance. They want to validate their concerns, whatever. So you have to understand, like, the ecosystem, the brand is very important nowadays. So it's no longer just about the add to the money. It's the whole ecosystem, which we will call brand. So even though this is a video on meta ads, if you want to actually build a long-lasting business, it's a very good idea to have some degree of content that you're publishing on a regular basis. I post several times a day on Instagram and twice a week on YouTube. That's what I've committed to. I've done this for the past couple of years. But remember, when I started, I didn't do any of this stuff. I only did ads for the first 3 years, right into our perfect client pipeline, like clockwork. But again, like, I have the space, the team, the infrastructure to do more of this stuff now. So I'm not saying you have to do this if you're a one-man show and do everything yourself. You don't have to. I'm just telling you, it's a little bit trickier now to build trust in a skeptical marketplace because of a lot of this stuff happening. So the ecosystem is very, very important. Therefore, to build the ecosystem, we add more value. We add more value by adding more content. Content is the antidote to skepticism. Content builds a brand. Brand is the ultimate asset you can build, but it takes a long time. Okay, number 10. We've got 2 more to go here. Hopefully you're finding this valuable. If you are, remember to hit that subscribe button. I've got tons of other videos to help you crush it in business and life. Okay, so let me walk you through our perfect client pipeline. I've already kind of alluded to this. Okay, so we have an ad, we have a webinar, we have an application, or paid consults right into a call, right? So this is either paid, in which case the app is irrelevant. It would be a checkout page. Okay, so this, I will tell you, is more important than ever before. Okay, so why is having a webinar more important than ever before? Well, it's what I just said. The more people spend time with you, the more money they will spend with you. But Yuri, people are busy nowadays. Who gives a shit? They've always been busy. But they will find time. We always find time for things that are important to us. So when someone gets on a call with you, they're like, oh, I'm busy. AKA, spoken in normal English, I just don't give a shit about doing anything about this thing. Period. That's why a webinar is so valuable. It's so good to use. And please don't try to micro compress it into 5 seconds. Get people to stay longer. Like, there's a sweet spot. I think the longest webinar we've run in this business is about 1 hour and 26 minutes. Currently, we have a version that's half the time. We have a shorter one that's 14 and a half minutes. Our clients on average are about 40 to 60 minutes. And here's sometimes what they get concerned about. So you have this watch curve and it looks like this. And they are always like, well, Yuri, all these people are dropping off. And I'm like, that's the point. That's the point. The Marines have a saying that have been basically the underpinning of all of my marketing for this business, which is if you want the most, make it easy. If you want the best, make it hard. The people who drop off here, these are flaky people who don't want what they say they want. They're curious, not committed. The people over here are committed and they want a result. If someone's going to spend an hour watching your thing, do you think they're more primed and committed to actually taking the next step with you? For sure. Or at least learning about how, what it all looks like. That's the purpose of a webinar. If you just put it a PDF one-page download, you're never going to enroll high-ticket clients with that. And let me be very clear about this. PDF lead magnets do work. And I'll give you a bit of context from the trenches in case you're not aware of this. The only businesses that I know personally that have made the lead magnet PDF thingamajig work are businesses that run ads to that. And then as soon as you opt in for the PDF, their outbound sales team is calling you because they know that left to their own devices, people are not doing anything requesting a PDF download. So if you want to build out that whole outbound sales team infrastructure, by all means, go for it. Otherwise, take your lead magnets and throw them in the fire. They're wasting your time and they're wasting your funnel pages. Build out a perfect client pipeline. It works. It's always worked. The most important thing is the messaging, the offer, your positioning, all that stuff. And this is something that we actually build into our clients' businesses. So if you're interested in working with us at some point, we would actually be working with you and installing this into your business, i.e., we will have one-on-one conversations with you to extract your magic, build out your webinar, your first couple of ads, your paid consult, the whole funnel page. We'll actually build this and give it back to you within about 30 days, quite often way faster than that. And then we sit beside you every step of the way to coach you to greatness. If that's of interest to you, cool. There's a link somewhere in the description that can show you a bit more about how our business model works. And if you fit the bill and qualify, then you can certainly book a call to see if we might be able to help you and if obviously you'd fit the bill. Okay, enough about that. So a webinar is still the most important piece of content in your business. It's like a TEDx talk that works 24/7 on your behalf without the fancy video production, which is a complete waste of time. Okay, final thing I'm going to mention on this is kind of along the lines of what I just talked about, which is continue to have people jump through hoops in your marketing. There's two ways of looking at this, and I completely understand both sides. So side number one is just make it easy for people to learn about what you do, show them the offer, show them how they can make a decision. I get that. There's value there for sure. But I also understand that in a coaching business, you are spending a lot of time and energy with people, and you want to make sure the right people come in to work with you. I'm a huge fan. If you haven't followed my stuff, this is I'm going to trademark this shit, to be honest. This is the premise of how I teach our clients to sell. It's the premise of pretty much everything I do in our marketing. It's coming from a place of abundance and being plentiful and understanding that when I am coming from a place of I have everything already, I am enough, I have enough, I don't need any more, then that energy attracts the right people to you. Versus desperate, needy energy is like mosquito repellent. It keeps your best people away from you. So when I talk about having people jump through hoops, make them read a longer ad, make them watch a webinar, make them pay to speak with you, make them spend an hour with you, and then make them pay premium prices. But Yuri, I want to help everyone. Then great, stop watching this video, turn off all of your ads because it's never going to work. I don't care what you do with your business, but if you're here because you want to run ads profitably, I'm sharing with you what we do in our business and what we're doing with thousands of other coaches and health practitioners, okay? Don't ask people what about this? I'm telling you, all of the other shit I have done. In my previous business, I did everything. I had physical products, supplements, low ticket, courses, membership sites, summits, book launches, free plus shipping. Every single business model or idea you've been thinking about or have tried, I have run a lot of it successfully, and some of it I would never touch again with my worst enemy's hands. Yes, I'm extremely biased in terms of what I preach here. I'm also very open-minded to understanding that maybe this isn't the be all and end all. Maybe there are better iterations, which is why I also recommend to not copy my stuff, because what you don't see is what is being tested versus what is evergreen. We test stuff all the time. And I tell my clients, do not copy what you see of mine, because you don't know if it's in testing phase or if it's in like scale and deploy phase. I am very humble. I've been doing this now for 20 years, 21 years, and I know a lot. And I know a lot. I know so much to know that I know nothing at all. Because I think the most dangerous thing in business is to be so dogmatic in your own approach that you can't be open-minded to better alternatives. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but all of this to say that there are constant refinements. As an example, with the Perfect Client Pipeline, show rates since COVID have just plummeted. So we looked at, okay, how do we solve this for our clients? And yes, we have show-up sequences, we have all sorts of stuff. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, you kill show-up rate issues by charging for people to talk with you. Period. That's it. But Yuri, I'm not going to get as many calls booked. Well, amazing. Because now you don't have to have as many calls. You'll have a higher close rate, and you don't have to hire a sales team until way, way, way later in your business. So that's an example of how we're always looking to iterate and make things better and not being so dogmatic that we're resistant to change. So I don't know what the hell I was going with this, but all I'm trying to say here is if you want the most, make it easy. If you want the best, make it hard. Remember, quick in, quick out. If it's easy for people to book a call with you, they will not show up with you. I promise you, these are flaky, uncommitted people. They're NPCs. And I'm sorry if this offends some people. It is the way of the world. Not everyone is meant to do well. Not everyone is meant to have a great business. We're on a mission to help 1 billion people. We want every man, woman, and child to be the wealthiest, healthiest, and happiest version of themselves. That is a mission that I'm committed the rest of my life to making happen. And I've also been doing this so long to recognize that the people who need your help the most very often want it the least. Stop trying to bend over backwards, trying to help people who don't want your help. Raise your prices, raise the bar to work with you, have people jump through hoops. The right people will, and it'll be like a dream working with them versus lowering your standards, making concessions, and trying to help everyone just because you want to be liked. It's a complete waste of time. So with that said, I'm going to stop talking. I hope these 11 lessons have resonated with you at some level of what you're doing with your meta ads. Again, if you want to see a little bit more about how we help health experts build their coaching businesses, there's a link, probably the next video here. We'll walk you through our $1 million coaching model. And again, on that video, if you're interested in having us help you, you can certainly apply to book a call with us from that video. So that's all for me today. Hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one.